Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey and let's get into some books I need to read before my baby's born. So my due date is the end of December. So I have quite a few books that I plan to read in November, but you can think of this more as like an end of year TBR. I haven't been reading as quickly as I normally do. So I'm just hoping that I can get my plans for November at least read. So the first thing is that we will have a live show in November for Professor Kelsey's book club for The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. I haven't read this yet, so I do plan to read it within the first week of November. If you don't know what The Exorcist is, neither do I, and I'm very terrified to read it. All I know is that this is about an exorcism, and being that I am Roman Catholic, I am very acquainted with the idea of exorcisms and the devil and Satan. So from what I seem to understand, the story begins with frightening noises coming from an 11-year-old girl's room. Medical tests can't share light on the changes that is happening within her body, and it seems as though a different person has entered it. So a priest is called in because they believe it is possible that she has been possessed by the devil, and exorcism seems to be the only answer here. So a lot of movies have been made inspired by this. I've watched some of them. They give me nightmares. People aren't recommending using the audiobook because the demonic sounds apparently are very well done, and I don't want that, I think. So I plan to be reading this physically, and hopefully I can get that done within the first week. And the live show will be sometime in November. I always have them up on this channel in advance, so once it is planned, it will be there. The only vlog I have really planned on doing in the month of November is finishing the Buzzwordathon. I have slacked off since September with following along with the Buzzwordathon. If you don't know, the Buzzwordathon is a readathon created by Books and Lala every year, where each individual month of the year has some sort of word or theme that you have to find within the titles of the books. I just realized I'm like a little lopsided. I hope you don't mind. So I plan on reading 4 books. That's 8. So I plan on reading 4 books in order to complete the year and successfully achieve it. I've never not successfully achieved it, so the stress is happening. For the month of September, the buzzword was senses. So it's any related word to touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing. And for that, because it is also nonfiction November, where people like to read nonfiction books, I decided to read Bias, Uncovering the Hidden Prejudice That Shapes What We Will See, Think, and Do. See is a related word to sight, and so I am reading this book. So this is from one of the world's leading experts on unconscious racial bias, and it focuses on stories, science, and strategies to address one of the central controversies of our time. So how do we talk about bias? How do we address racial disparities and inequities? What role do our institutions play in creating, maintaining, and magnifying those inequities? What role do we play? With a perspective that is at once scientific, investigative, and informed by personal experience, Dr. Jennifer Eberhardt offers us the language and courage we need to face one of the biggest and most troubling issues of our time. So I'm incredibly intrigued by this. I definitely think it is a nonfiction book to read in the current political climate. So I'll definitely be getting to this one. And hopefully I can find an audiobook for this because I love to listen to nonfiction books on audio. So I just have really good expectations for this book. The next buzzword is relationships. So this is titles that include a relation of any kind. So sister, friend, brother, aunt, mother, husband, wife. Given that I am about to develop a new relationship in my life and be a mother to a son, I decided to pick up another nonfiction book called Of Woman Born, Motherhood as Experienced and Institution by Adrienne Rich. So this is the path-breaking investigation into motherhood and womanhood from an influential and enduring feminist voice. So this was originally published in 1976. Of Woman Born has revolutionized how women think about motherhood and their own liberation. Exploring her own experiences as a woman, a poet, a feminist, and a mother, Adrienne Rich combines wide-ranging research in anthropology, feminist theory, literature, and psychology with unsparing self-interrogation. This work centers on reproductive health, race, and activism, and has as much wisdom and insight today as when it was first written. So this seems to be like a very shaping feminist text, which I did not know, and I'm very excited now to listen to it. Hopefully, like I said, I love to listen to nonfiction on audio. And given that I will be a mother soon, I think it's just important for me to really shape and understand the role that I'm playing and the way that I can raise my son in this current time. Then we'll have 2 closing books for the last 2 buzzwords that will be fiction instead, so spicing it up this month. The buzzword for November was only, so this is one of those instances where it's no longer a theme, it's a specific word. Titles had to include the word only. I didn't have a lot on my physical TBR, but I did have one on my Kindle, and that is for Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese. So I've read one book from Chloe Leese, and I have it somewhere. It was The Mistletoe Motive, and I really loved Chloe Leese's writing, so that was why I went ahead and got some of her other books. This is the first book in her series called The Bergman Brothers, and it follows two characters named Willa and Ryder. So from the moment Willa sat next to Ryder in class, she's made it clear that she hates his guts. Her reason is a mystery, but its outcome suits him fine. Willa Sutter is feisty, tempting chaos he does not need in his quiet, tidy life. She's the next generation of women's soccer, wild hair, bee-stung lips, and a temper that makes the devil seem friendly. He'll leverage her hate as long as possible to keep his distance. So we got a little enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers type of relationship. Ryder seems to be very arrogant as well, so they will be challenging each other, and I'm very here for that. I love that type of dynamic in a romance, which is like grumpy or like strong. Like I just like when the characters can like really compete with one another. And then finally for this vlog, the last buzzword theme is holiday themed words. Titles that include any holiday related words: Christmas, Hanukkah, Santa, Merry, holiday, wreath, snow, winter, etc., etc. And that etc. is important. So I will be reading Krampus, the Yule Lord by Brom. Technically, Yule, I guess, would be a holiday word, but I was really going for Krampus. If you don't know the mythos of Krampus, it is like evil Santa that comes to visit Eastern European children who've been bad. So instead of receiving coal, you get a visit from this very scary demon, which I absolutely love. And I cannot go without horror for very long. I've realized that horror is one of my favorite, if not my favorite genre. So I knew I needed to include some sort of horror book in the month of November, even though I'm realizing I'm reading The Exorcist. Anyways, so this tale of Krampus is specifically following a struggling author named Jesse, and he has witnessed a really strange event of 7 ghoulish little men chasing after a man in a red suit with reindeer. And when the reindeer leap skyward, taking the sleigh, devilmen, and Santa into the clouds, screams follow. Moments later, a large sack plummets back to earth, a magical sack that thrusts the down on his luck singer into the clutches of the terrifying Yule Lord Krampus. But the lines between good and evil become blurred as Jesse's new master reveals many dark secrets about the cherry-cheeked Santa Claus, including how half a millennium ago, the jolly old saint imprisoned Krampus and usurped his magic. This sounds so fun. I think I'm really gonna love this. I've been really looking forward to reading anything by Brom just because I absolutely adore the art style of his books and the like different themes he's taking on like childhood stories. Like he has one about Peter Pan as well. I'm just really excited to dive into my first Brom, and it had to be about Krampus because I am obsessed with the lore of Krampus. So that's it for the books I have to read this month, but there are a couple of nonfiction books that I want to add to my TBR if I have time to listen to them. The first of which is a book I did not manage to get into in the month of October, which is Missing Witches: Recovering the True Histories of Feminist Magic by Risa Dickens and Amy Taroque. So this is these two authors' more modern and intersectional take on women and women as witches. Our knowledge of witchcraft and magic has been marred by erasure, sensationalism, and sterilization. So they want to uncover and reconnect with feminist witch history. And this book is sort of sharing traditions from all over the world, from Harlem to Haiti and Mesopotamia. And I just feel like it's going to be like a really interesting umbrella look at witchcraft and what it means today. So very intrigued by this still. I have the audiobook for it, so it is one that I want to read pretty quickly. Next, I have A History of My Brief Body by Billy Ray Belcourt. Books and Lala, speaking of, does nothing but rave about this book, so I was immediately intrigued when she did, and I went to go buy it. It has been a finalist for the Governor General's Literary Awards, a Globe and Mail Best Book, and this is Billy Ray Belcourt's debut memoir, and it expands to encompass the big and broken world around him in all its complexity and contradictions, a legacy of colonial violence and the joy that flourishes in spite of it, first loves and first love's loss, sexual exploration and intimacy, and the act of writing as a survival instinct and a way to grieve. It's an honest and eye-opening, emotional debut nonfiction, so I'm really intrigued by it. It's short. I really think it's going to make a big impact on me, or I hope it does at least, and I, again, excited to read it. After that, I have a book that I've been really meaning to read. I have taken out the audiobook from the library like at least 7 times, but this is Why Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism and Other Arguments for Economic Independence. Since finding out I was pregnant, I have definitely become way more socialist than I already was, and so the title of this book immediately intrigued me when I had heard about it. It's a spirited, witty, deeply researched exploration of why socialism, when done right, can lead to economic independence, better work-life balance, and yes, even better sex. So honestly, that's all I need to know. And I will once again take out the audiobook from the library and make sure that I really focus on this one. It is a book that I would really like to finish before the end of the year. And then lastly, this is but a dream. I don't think I'm going to get to this book, maybe in the month of December if I have time. I love cults, so I would really like to read Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism by Amanda Montell. I've heard nothing but really excellent things about this book, and I know that it's less of an exploration of like actual like cults that we know of, and more the language that cults use and how it's used in more capitalistic ways. We secretly want to know, could it happen to me? Could I join a cult? Amanda Montell's argument is that on some level, you already have. Our culture tends to provide pretty flimsy answers to questions of cult influence, mostly just vague talk of brainwashing. But the true answer has nothing to do with mind control or drinking Kool-Aid. In Cultish, Montell argues that the key to manufacturing intense ideology, community, and us and them attitude all comes down to its own language. I know Amanda Montell is a linguist. Yes, has a degree in linguistics from NYU. So I'm very intrigued to read this. I've heard nothing but really good things. I think I'm gonna absolutely devour this and love this. So I'm really hoping, if I can, to get to this by the end of November, or at least the end of the year. And that's it. Those are all of the books I would like to get to by the end of November, preferably. If you've read any of these books, please let me know down below what you thought about them. Did you like them? Did you hate them? Let me know. And if you would like to follow me on my reading journey, I always leave a link down below to my Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram if you would like to follow me there. And of course, because it is the end of the video, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. It does wonders for my channel. It makes me feel really good. And that's it. I never know how to end these things, so I will see you next time, hopefully. Okay, bye!